Hello and welcome back to Inside Quotes, the show where my brother and I rewatch, review, and relive the staples of our childhood. Who am I? You sure you want to know? I'm Jeremy. Jeremy Jones, and with me today is my older brother, Jonathan. Jonathan, welcome back to the show.
Quack, quack, everybody. Sorry I'm late. Work was murder.
Yeah, I was late too. I had to beat an old lady with a stick to get this cranberry sauce.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This is our Thanksgiving-ish episode. We'll see how close we are to the date of actually getting the episode out, but happy Thanksgiving.
It's already out.
Oh, that's true.
Today we will be covering such a staple of our childhood. A very old movie, if you will. The 2002 first good superhero movie, I would say.
Okay.
Spider-Man. And I don't remember is this the first superhero movie ever?
No.
I don't know.
Well, before I answer that question, what you just said something that reminded me of the modern superhero, or the modern Spider-Man Tom Holland version, when he's introduced in Civil War. And he's talking about, it's like, hey, have you guys ever seen that really old movie, The Empire Strikes Back? But instead, like, he's like, hey, did you ever see that really old movie, Spider-Man, from 2002?
That's funny. I mean, it is old. It's 21 years old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 21.
So,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't see this in theaters. So,
I wanted to see this one in theaters, and I didn't get to go. I missed out. But yeah, as far as like the first superhero movies go, I mean, there was like old serials and stuff of like Superman and, you know, things back in the day.
I guess that counts.
You could probably say the first like legit blockbuster superhero movie was probably like Superman.
Superman from the 70s?
That was in the 70s. 78, I think.
Yeah. But they also had the Batman TV show
and then there was the Batman movies.
Yeah.
That's the first one started in 89, went through the 90s. And then Batman and Robin kind of killed off the genre for a few years.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man. Oh, there was the X-Men movies too. So
I was going to ask, is this the first Marvel movie?
So, no,
I guess X-Men was a thing.
The first X-Men was 2000, I think. And that really showed like they could do these types of movies, I guess. But for all intents and purposes, Spider-Man is the blueprint for the blockbuster superhero movie. Like, it's just the best.
You can stream it. You don't have to go to Blockbuster to watch it.
Oh, okay. I know I'm more of a Hollywood video kind of guy.
Okay. Anyways,
cut that out.
So yeah, this movie came out in 2002, which we already talked about.
Yeah, 2002. So you didn't see this in theaters. I wanted to.
I didn't know I wanted to.
Well, you were too.
I was 4 years old.
Jeremy, do you remember going camping at Fort Wilderness in Disney? Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. I thought you'd react a little bit.
What about?
I thought you'd be more excited. Like, oh man, Fort Wilderness, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, Fort Wilderness. Yeah, it was awesome. I'm just like trying to connect it to Spider-Man.
Well, I'll get you there.
Okay.
Fort Wilderness was
at
the Disney.
Time, this wasn't owned by Disney, so
no, not yet. Fort Wilderness is like the campground owned by Disney, and I'll just say we were in Boy Scouts growing up, so we did all like the real kind of camping throughout the year, out in the woods, roughing it, making fires, doing all that stuff. But one time a year, we would go to Fort Wilderness.
We'd go on vacation.
And that was glamping.
Yeah.
That was not really camping. That was us sleeping in tents, but also just like hanging out in Orlando and Disney and going to like downtown Disney and trying to sneak into the Wilderness Lodge to use the pool, even though we don't stay there.
Yeah.
It was good times. And I remember being really jealous of our older brothers because they went with their friends down to downtown Disney to the movie theaters, and they all went and saw Spider-Man.
Oh wow!
It came out either that weekend or around the time that we all went, of like May of 2002, and like all the older scouts were just talking about Spider-Man the entire weekend. I was like, oh man, I want to go see this movie.
Yeah.
And I think I was still in Cub Scouts at that time. So it was like everywhere I had to go, I had to be with parents or chaperones or that sort of thing. And they didn't let us just go hopping on the buses, going around Disney, doing our own thing. So I wish I had seen it in theaters, but I didn't.
I guess you could say you needed a hero to save you from that parental guidance.
Yeah. You could say that. Well, I want to talk about the soundtrack of this movie. I know that it's very early to be going in on the soundtrack, but I have memories with this soundtrack. Okay. Mm-hmm. One of my first CDs that I ever had was the Spider-Man soundtrack. I remember it was the end of the year at FCA. And our principal was like going through a bunch of the lost and found items at school. And someone, she pulled out a CD and she asked if anybody wanted it. And she said, I was going to keep it, but then I looked inside and it wasn't what I thought it was. Okay, what she was trying to keep for herself was a copy of Creed's Weathered album. Like someone had left it at school and she's like, oh, I love Creed. I'm going to listen to this. And at least I think that's what it was called. And then when it opened up, it had the wrong disc in there. Like someone had put the Spider-Man soundtrack inside.
Whoa.
And I was like, well, I'll take that. So I took it home, and I don't know if this was a weird situation. Was like, it's in the lost and found. Someone might come back for it next year, so you can like keep it for the summer.
Yeah.
So like I had the CD for like the summer, and I mean it's got some great songs on it. Let me tell you, Hero. I Need a Hero.
That's about it.
No. It had some more. I was a big Sum 41 fan. I liked this. They had a song on there. There was a lot of bands on there that I wasn't that familiar with, but these Spider-Man soundtracks, I feel like, shaped my musical tastes, especially the second one.
Okay. Is there a Hoobastank song on that one?
On the second one.
Yeah.
The second one, basically when the second one came out, it was like all my favorite bands. It was like Yellow Card was on there.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. No. Yellow Card had a song on there. Just a lot of those bands. There was a Dashboard Confessional song, which was like the big hit. Vindicated. They had
Vindicated! Oh, man, I remember that.
The band Jet, Taking Back Sunday, the Ataris. There was a bunch of bands on there of that like same kind of pop punk kind of sounding realm. And the first one didn't really have it had the Sum 41 song on there, but it had bands on there like the Strokes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. The Hives. If it had the in front of it, it was on there. There's a Macy Gray song on there because she's in the movie Spider-Man.
Is she really?
Yeah, she's at the parade.
Question: who's Macy Gray's?
I didn't know until I saw this movie. Macy Gray.
Gray.
She's the one. She's like the performer at the parade singing the song in the movie.
Okay,
that's her, and that's her song.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Like Beyonce and the Pink Panther.
Basically, yeah. Except the song on Pink Panther way harder than this one for sure.
Yes, and you can't even stream it.
That's what I meant. Harder to stream is what I meant.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I remember returning the CD at the end of the summer because like, oh, I got to give it back to the Lost and Found. I don't know what happened to it. It was just like a random disc, but I ended up like buying it again, like my own copy of it, and I had the second one.
You're full of integrity, you.
And I remember when the third one came out, I was like, I looked at the soundtrack. I was like, oh man, the music tastes have shifted. I don't like these songs, so I didn't buy it.
Not really a fan of butt rock.
I don't even know what was on Spider-Man 3, but I didn't like it. Not enough to buy it anyway.
Well, a lot of people didn't like Spider-Man 3. But
a
we're
whole
not here
other
to talk
episode.
about the second or the third movie.
Yeah.
Or the Tom Holland, or the Miles Morales, whoever voices him, or the Andrew Garfield,
Yep.
or all the other constant reboots of this franchise. We're talking about the number one live action, the original old Tobey Maguire. What about him?
What about him?
Oh, okay, let me tell you something about these. This is probably the first movie. When I think of a movie from the 2000s, like a very 2000s-y movie, this is it.
Yeah.
I don't... It's so unashamedly 2000s, too. So it's not... It's like the... It's a classic 2000s high school movie. That's probably about 90% of all movies that came out in 2000s.
Yeah.
And it works. It ages bad, but not really. And the CGI, pretty good still.
For the most part.
For the most part. The little drop of blood at Thanksgiving looks weird to me. It looked like an alien symbiote.
Yeah. It looks
from
like
Venom.
paint, not blood.
Yeah.
The way it's animated. But
Yeah.
still, iconic moment.
Regardless, I mean...
Talk about it's not a mic drop, it's a blood drop.
Yeah. Charlie, tell me the budget for this movie.
I think I looked at it earlier. Don't quote me on this. About $100 million, something like that.
So, when I was talking to my brother Jonathan the other day, he said Spider-Man movie was about $100 million. And that's a quote.
I can't bear to be wrong.
I just quoted you. What are you gonna do about it?
You'll be hearing from my lawyers pretty soon here.
Does it say on the IMDb?
And the movie made like 800-ish million,
which is crazy.
That's a smash hit in that time.
Yeah, this is pre-Avatar. This is post-Titanic.
Yeah, we've talked on this podcast a lot about like 2002 being like such a great year for movies.
Oh yeah.
And basically, yeah, this movie is like one of the first ones that come to mind. Like 2002, oh yeah, Spider-Man.
That would be Country Bears for me.
Well, I mean,
you're not wrong. For my age,
you're not wrong.
But yeah, so from the perspective of a 4/5-year-old, I don't remember exactly when this came out, but I was used to Blue's Clues and watching Arthur and like Little Bear, the classics, Franklin. That was the majority of my screen time growing up at that point. So this is probably one of my first movies, like not meant for my demographic. Like,
yeah,
it's not Toy Story. It's not games on your phone. No, but so this is probably the first movie where I realized that movies were fake. If you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah.
Like, this is the first movie where I realized that they're not filming this on a camera while this is happening. This guy can't do this. This is the first...
This isn't a real thing.
Yeah. But it looks real. And then I think the only reason I knew that, not because of all the explosions, not because he was flying around on a rope. I just thought it was a rope. But because the scene where after he gets bit and he's like testing out his powers and stuff, and it zooms in on his little thumb, and you see the spikes come out of his thumb.
Grippers.
Ew. So vivid, so gross and satisfying at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about those. Regardless, I've noticed that, first of all, yeah, obviously those don't come out of your fingers.
Have you put your fingers under a microscope?
No. Like,
okay.
I have while putting, like, slides in. You got me there.
Gotcha.
But no, when he's climbing up the wall for the first time, And I remember watching this. I don't know. I probably was 7, 8. I don't know. I definitely didn't watch this when it first came out. And I was watching with Larry and Justin.
This would have been one that they bought on DVD.
Yeah.
With their disposable income from their jobs.
Yes. Chick-fil-A. Now, if you were there, you could have been. I'm not sure. But I remember they were there. And they are the ones who put it in the DVD player. And I'm just like, hold up. I got to try this out for myself. So I walked to our nearest wall and I tried climbing it myself. I even tried to flex my fingers to see if the little spikes would come out. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't work. And I said, this movie's fake. How do they do that? And then that sparked my love for movies. Like, how does this get made? I need to see the BTS on this crap. That's my exact thought. And then Larry was like, well, actually, or maybe Justin, I don't know, one of our older brothers was like, actually, they built the building, the wall, to look like it was a wall. So like the stairs and scaffolding, fire escapes. That's just laying down, and he's just like crawling. And I'm like, that's not okay. That's pretty cool. That blew my mind. And then I immediately went on the floor and I tried to do it that way. Of course, I could do it that way. But yeah, no, very good first memory watching this.
Did any scenes in this movie scare you?
Yes.
I was gonna
What are you talking about?
If you were that young.
Probably the scariest part was the fire scene.
Okay.
Where Green Goblin... First of all, I want to say Green Goblin is probably one of my favorite villains of all time.
Agreed. That's good.
And I'm going to get a lot of flack from you.
Okay.
And probably a lot of other people, but I think this is the best Spider-Man movie of the 3.
Okay.
Everyone says Spider-Man 2 is objectively the best one.
You're not going to get flack from me.
Okay. I don't like Spider-Man 2 that much.
Okay.
Compared to this one. We'll see if I change my mind. But the Green Goblin is so scary. Just his laugh. Like, anytime basically Norman Osborn yelled.
Like, you were scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how much I sacrificed? Freaky. And then, yeah.
I was picturing that transformation scene probably would.
The transformation scene was very, very scary.
Yeah. And that, like the gas chamber.
I felt that scene. I could smell the scene. I felt it and I smelt it.
But you did not dealt it.
I did not dealt it. I did feel the coldness of the brackets or whatever go over his shirt off. He had his shirt off. That was cold. Whew. It's cold.
It's like when the doctor puts the cold stethoscope on your chest.
Yes. Literally me every time I have to go to the bathroom, but I don't have a shirt on. I think of that scene all the time. I mean, it's rare. Maybe it's too much information, but
yeah, I don't know why you shared that. I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, I can't be the only one that's pooped with his shirt off.
So you're just cold in the bathroom?
Like when your back hits the back.
I thought you were talking about something is like pushing up against your chest in the bathroom.
No, I mean it's like the back. The toilet seat hits your back.
Oh, I see. Not the front, the back.
Your toilet doesn't have a seatbelt?
Mine has the over-the-shoulder restraints on the roller coaster.
Oh, no. Anyways, I thought that joke would land a little bit better. So, yeah, that was very scary. All the green serum, whatever that junk is, that was cool. I know what smell that was.
Okay.
But basically, around that time, I had gotten attacked by wasps at someone from Scouts, their house.
Oh, yeah.
And I was swinging on a swing set that hadn't been swung on for years. And there was a wasp nest underneath the swing, and it got right underneath my knee, and that was probably pretty like traumatic for me. But I go in, and then this, I guess she was a nurse or something, whoever's house it was, and she like broke out this huge first aid kit and some antiseptic or something for like venomous bites or something. Mm-hmm. It was a green vial, glass vial, and it looked just like that stuff. It was a little tiny vial that she cracked open, and she dabbed it on a cotton ball. It made my knee feel better, I guess. But I've never seen that ever in a first aid kit. I wonder what that was.
And you thought like it was like the green serum from
Oh no, that's just what it reminded me of when I watched the movie.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like as a kid you thought you were about to turn into the Green Goblin.
No.
You're telling her like, no, don't put it on, please.
I was gonna become the Wasp.
Well, since you were so young when this movie came out, one of the memories I have of like the stuff surrounding this movie that came out was toys.
Yes.
Because I remember you had some Spider-Man toys.
I did. Actually, let me tell you something.
Like I was too old for them, but I was like, oh, that's cool that he's got it, so I can like play with them too.
I like watch him play with them.
Yeah,
I would never. I would never.
I would never.
If I had to help like him clean up his room or something, I might play. Anyways, yeah, no. I had a action figure of Spider-Man, and it was like a little bit taller than a normal, but not tall enough to be like low quality, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Like once you get to G.I. Joe level, it's like eh, or Barbie level, it's like eh. It's like kind of cheap, kind of like.
It's less realistic looking.
Yeah, for some reason I don't. Yeah, something about bigger action figures are weird to me
because it's made for like preschoolers or something.
Yeah, they're not compact and they're like super like cheaply made.
They can't appreciate all the points of articulation on
exactly. It's like a Duplo block. Diplo? No, that's the DJ. So yeah, my Spider-Man action figure, legit. It had not only was it just like an action figure, but it had like joints. Mm-hmm. And you can move its elbows and its like knees and stuff, and even like its like metatarsals and stuff, like
metatarsals
parts. There was hinges like on his feet and his ankles, and it looked like legit. You could put him in like any position, and it looked like he was about to open up a can of whoop butt. If you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
And it was really cool. It's probably a top 5 toy from my childhood.
Yeah. You loved that thing.
I brought that thing everywhere.
Do you remember any others? Because I have one that I remember.
Toys or Spider-Man things?
Actually, a couple different things. The thing that you had that I was really jealous of, that I was like, oh, I want to play with that, is you had that Spider-Man glove.
Oh, yeah.
With the silly string.
To shoot
the web shooter.
Yep. And I was like, this is kind of lame. This is not like what it really supposed to be. I also wore those Spider-Man gloves, even when I didn't have silly string.
Yeah.
I think the silly string shooter broke, but I still wore the gloves.
It didn't last long. Stuff like that never does. But
that was awesome. That was a cool toy.
That was right. Yeah.
But I was mad because like that's not how it works. And then the next two, did he do the shooter in Andrew Garfield version?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that and Tom Holland, their version, they had the shooter.
That's like the way it's always been in the comics, and that it's really weird.
Dumbest way to do that. But I think that's stupid.
Tobey Maguire, that's the way it's supposed to. He's supposed to have the web fluid in his body.
If you have spider-like powers and you can't produce a web out of your own wrist, what are you doing? You're not a Spider-Man.
Yeah,
you're just a skittish boy. You're the dumbest boy in school.
We also had in our one of our bath toys. We had a Spider-Man, but it wasn't like it was before the movie came out. It was like an older like '90s Spider-Man.
Okay,
do you remember that?
Let me tell you something, Jonathan.
I do remember
it, but I didn't just. I brought in my other toys to the bath sometimes.
Okay. Well, we had specific designated bath toys in the bathroom,
Yeah,
right?
we did. Most of them were superhero action figures.
Yeah, we had an old Batman.
We had a black and silver Superman.
We had this like Lego boat
Yeah.
that we would just
the
like
Wolverine.
float on the water. The Wolverine, yeah.
The Wolverine with retractable claws that were chewed on.
Were chewed on.
We didn't have a dog either, so it was one of us 4 boys.
I'm assuming it was old, like one of Larry and Justin's old toys.
It looked like an 80s
and they
toy.
were done. Yeah, they were like 80s and early 90s type toys, and those were the bath toys. We had that floating turtle. Remember that one?
No.
It was like a plastic, more like a preschool toy or whatever. You could like fill it up with water and dump it out. Yeah, Jeremy's just memory unlocked for him just now.
Wow. I remember that just a little bit.
Anyway,
bath time is underrated.
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I kind of miss it. I might take a bath tonight.
Maybe.
I don't have any toys though.
Need some good bath
Bath
toys.
time, you had to commit. Like that wasn't you couldn't leave till you had pruny fingers,
and the water
all of your
was
toys
ice
got played
cold.
with. Yeah.
Until your teeth were chattering.
If you're not shivering while getting your towel, you didn't bathe right. You don't have to use shampoo. If you just waited till the water was cold, or if the plug in your drain wasn't tight enough, so it just automatically ended, just drained
slowly.
Wow, bath time was a good time.
You were talking about Green Goblin being one of your like favorite villains.
Yes, scariest.
I took Willem Dafoe for granted. Like I didn't realize how good he was, in like when I first watched these.
Yeah.
Like it's only like having like all the years gone by and seeing all these superhero movies, and like even seeing him return in like No Way Home.
Yeah.
And just seeing like, oh man, this guy is really good.
Yeah.
Like he's like one of the best villains. And he's like such a good actor. And I don't think I really appreciated it.
And they built
at
up
the time.
Thanos for nothing. Oh my goodness. Thanos
was good. Thanos was good.
The most uncomplex character that acted like he was complex. He just made the same point all the time.
So did the Green Goblin.
There's too many of us. I just want to snap my fingers.
You played the part of the hero. They'll turn on you.
The duality of Norman Osborn. Unpredictable.
I think there was a little bit too, a sense of like Green Goblin was kind of cheesy. Like everyone talked about him in his like Power Rangers mask and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they were gonna try and do it like more CG, but they ended up going the way that they did, and I like the way it is now.
Yeah. Did you not before?
I
was a big Power Rangers guy. So.
I liked it. It's aged a lot better than I thought it would. Like I thought it would be a lot more cheesy as time has gone by, and I feel like it's still good.
Jonathan, I think I've just come to a realization. I'm sorry. I don't think I am a Power Rangers guy.
Okay.
I had the toys, but I don't think I ever watched a single Power Rangers TV.
I definitely had some Power Rangers in my bath time.
I think my life is just hand-me-downs.
It is definitely, for sure.
I'm just the youngest child.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever watched we had one.
You have nothing original of your own.
We had one Power. I did not, except for the Spider-Man toy. We had one Power Ranger tape, and I took it over to one of my friend's house, Kent Hegarty, at the time, and it.
VCR ate it?
It ate it up, and I didn't get to watch it. I don't think I've seen a single Power Rangers movie. Yet I just think I was. It was past my time.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I watched it a lot on TV. But it was one of those things where you definitely grow out of it, thankfully.
okay.
No, like I was like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan. And then so you don't know any of this because you didn't do all the different ones, but it moved on to like Power Rangers Zeo or something like that. That was like the second generation, and I watched some of that, But then it kept like reinventing itself with new Power Rangers until it got to something that was more your era, which was like Power Rangers Dino Thunder or something like that. It'd be on like Saturdays in the morning.
Are you making that up?
No, I'm not making that up. Dino Force or something like that.
Dino Force.
And I was like, this is getting out of hand.
It's getting a little ridiculous, if you ask me.
But I did like it for a while, and then I remember Mom actually telling me that she was like very sad the day that I told her I didn't want to watch Winnie the Pooh anymore and that I wanted to watch Power Rangers.
That would make me depressed
That
too.
was a heartbreaking moment for her.
Aww.
So Willem Dafoe
Because then
in
she
this
had to
movie,
watch Power Rangers and not Winnie the Pooh, which is quality
which
entertainment.
is way better. I think it was one of those things too. She's like, they're just fighting all the time. She didn't want me to watch that, but I did.
Okay, Willem Dafoe. What is he in that I've seen? That's a fun game. He's in Asteroid City, which I just seen this summer. He is in Spider-Man: No Way Home. Spoiler.
No, he was in the trailer for that.
Oh,
Actually, I don't know if he was actually.
he probably was. No, I heard his little.
Oh yeah.
What else is he in?
There's a big one. You ready for this? Mr. Bean's Holiday.
Oh yeah, you're right. He was in that. Oh, he's also Gil from Finding Nemo.
Yeah. That's right. Let's go back to the beginning of this movie. Their field trip to whatever this science lab is with all the spiders and everything.
Isn't that just Oscorp?
I guess it's Oscorp. Well, it probably was. I know it definitely was in the Andrew Garfield ones. It was Oscorp. But anyway, I just love this like teacher that they have. That's like their chaperone on this field trip. He is so funny.
Yes.
He just like everyone's like talking while this scientist is trying to give her presentation, and he just walks up to the kids. He's just like,
"This person who talks will fail this course. I kid you not."
No emotion in his face at all whatsoever.
which is like, it's like a high school class, but it's like, you're gonna fail this course. I don't know. This seems like a college thing.
Yeah. Well, this is how I think of things.
Mm-hmm.
Is I think as a kid watching this, these guys were in their 30s.
Yeah, pretty much.
They were already in college, but in high school, pretending to be in high school.
Yeah, especially.
I guess that's how it was in real life.
Especially the guy that played Flash. He's so old.
Yeah. So yeah, he starts to get his little web powers. That's a cool scene, origin story.
Mm-hmm.
And then he finds out about that in the lunchroom. And I know Peter Parker or Spider-Man is a hidden identity, secret identity
Mm-hmm.
of Peter Parker. And I don't understand how he kept that a secret, because everybody had to have been talking about that at the lunch table. Like, bro, you remember that one time at lunch that the kid had webs come out of his arms?
Yeah.
And he like flung a lunch tray at Flash? Yeah, that has to be Spider-Man. Like 2 weeks later, there's Spider-Man. Oh, man. Then, obviously, there's a fight, and our favorite extra makes an appearance.
Yeah.
At the fight. What's his name, even? Do you know his name?
I don't know.
Most
It's just like this
famous
nerdy guy.
extra. You've seen him in something before, listener. His name is Jesse Heiman.
Mm-hmm. And he's been in so much. And we just, I don't know, what was it that we initially like, was he on Chuck? Was he
He's
like
on Chuck. He's in Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
He was
I feel like it was like Chuck that we started noticing him in the background a lot at like the Buy More or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we just started seeing him everywhere.
Yeah.
And like we finally realized he's in everything. Like he was on Drake and Josh and Ned's Declassified. Yeah. Like he'd just be in all these like.
He looks like a perpetual. How old is this guy? He's like, he looks like a perpetual middle school / high school student. He could even pass as a college student. It does not say how old he is.
But he's our favorite extra. And once you start looking for him, you will see him everywhere.
Yeah. He's in the Parks and Recs episode where it had a montage of all the citizens of Pawnee like putting their mouth on the water fountains. On the nozzles.
Was he one of them?
Yeah, he was one of them. He has a documentary that he is starring in for once instead of being an extra.
Is it about him?
It's
his
literally
life
called
movies?
Jesse Heiman, World's Greatest Extra. And I'm very interested in seeing it. James Franco's in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I will be watching this at some point.
Was he in Freaks and Geeks?
Yes.
I bet he was, yeah.
Yes, he was.
I bet we saw him in that.
Was. Wow, he's in a lot of trash movies. He's in everything. He was in The Goldbergs.
Yeah, okay.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Haven't seen it. He's in Disney Channel, like Pair of Kings. He was in Parks and Rec. Chuck. He was in 31 episodes of Chuck. That's a lot.
He must. Yeah, I think he was probably one of the Nerd Herd or whatever at the Buy-More.
Bro is in Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Glee, How I Met Your Mother, Social Network, Good Luck Charlie. He is in Monk. 17 Again, Heroes, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Ned's Declassified. Oh man, The Shaggy Dog, Arrested Development, My Name is Earl, Entourage, literally every TV show in the 2000s he was in. Man. The OC, Reno 911, NCIS, George Lopez, Drake and Josh.
Man.
And I'm only down to 2004. That's so Raven. Catch Me If You Can.
With this
Austin Powers. Sorry. Spider-Man.
I'm glad that this actor's strike is over so he can get back to work, start getting those residuals and everything.
Dude is like, he's the equivalent to like a day trader for like penny stocks. But man, it's impressive. He's in a lot of stuff.
Oh man. Just imagine how many like checks he gets
for like a penny.
For just like pennies.
That's insane. Like, this guy has the resume. I will be watching this.
And that's the thing. Like, he doesn't talk because he's an extra.
He just looks.
I don't know what he sounds unique.
Like. Yeah. So excellent fight scene, slow mo, very 2000s-y.
Oh, you know, what was a good slow mo moment was the fire scene.
Slow-mo moment.
Slow moment.
Oh, dude, whenever he throws the little pumpkin razor
bombs.
things.
Yes.
Oh, dude. That's like all I needed from The Matrix. I guess it copied The Matrix.
It was definitely influenced by that.
But
also, like
The Matrix sucks. I hate The Matrix. Probably one of my least favorite movies of all time. And that's a hot take. And I'm glad you heard me say that, listener. I will not apologize.
Do
you know how much I sacrificed?
It definitely influenced this movie and a bunch of other movies for sure.
Okay, yeah, you're right. But I got all the good stuff out of it. But so much good action. This movie's great.
What do you think of Uncle Ben?
I think he's the Uncle Ben.
Yeah, man. He's the
He makes good rice, let me tell you what.
Man, that was one of the earliest memes I ever saw. It was a Spider-Man meme. Like, not earliest memes, but like,
yeah.
Like when I was in like college memes, and it was like it was J. Jonah Jameson and Tobey Maguire, and he's like, "Hey Parker, what's my favorite kind of rice?" He's like, "What?" It's like, "Uncle Ben's." He starts laughing, and then it cuts to just like the Toby crying.
Back when memes were comics.
Exactly. This movie is so memeable.
Mm-hmm.
So quotable, so memeable, and I feel like that's a good sign. People can say, "Oh, that's like they make fun of it," but like,
yeah,
I feel like the more memeable it is, the more memorable it is, the more it's gonna stick with audiences.
Yes.
They're gonna quote it. They're gonna send it to their friends. They're gonna talk about it. It's the type of movie that like makes an impact on pop culture.
You know what's interesting is that out of all three of these movies, the worst one is Spider-Man 3. Mm-hmm. But That's the one everybody quotes.
Spider-Man 3 is?
Spider-Man 3.
I mean, I definitely
I'm
have
put some
quotes
dirt
from
in
it.
your eye. You trash, Brock.
There's definitely some quotes in there. You think that's the most quoted?
Most
More
peop-
than this one?
That's yes, easily.
I mean, I definitely know it's
This one just had like bike messenger.
knocked me down.
Okay. Second one has pizza time.
Pizza time. Go!
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I
but
think they
it's-
all have really good quotes.
Sure.
But yeah. I missed the part where that's my problem.
There's the part where that's my problem. I say that at probably about a week, once a week.
Just my barber.
I don't say that.
I
I
don't
haven't
say
gotten a haircut in like 2 years.
One I don't quote, but I wrote it down, was just like, what makes you think I would want to know that? Who wouldn't? He's like spouting off facts at the science lab.
Oh yeah.
No thanks. Had a bite.
I hunch.
The one that I probably quote the most, honestly, is tally ho.
Oh yeah.
I
Yep.
love the
Big change.
big change.
This is a heavy quarter.
Yeah.
I don't want to overkill it with all these quotes, but
Cool
if
car.
you know, you know.
It's the lines, and it's also the delivery of some of them. It's just the way. It's just Toby's delivery of some of these
Yeah.
lines. The nonchalant. I don't know.
What are you talking about? You're a great actress.
I cried when you played Cinderella.
Cried in Cinderella. Peter, that was in first grade. Even still,
Even still.
you're nice save, Pete. Oh man. I think a lot of it has to do with the cringiness of it, but I think people, for the most part, accept it for what it is.
Another way you can tell that this movie made a huge impact on pop culture is Weird Al Yankovic made a song about it. Ode to a Superhero.
Oh yeah.
It was a parody of Piano Man by Billy Joel.
Okay.
It was off the Poodle
I
Hat
forgot
album.
about that one.
It's a good one. It's an underrated song. It's just one of those.
Sling us a web, you're the Spider-Man.
It's just one of those where he just sings the plot of the movie
Yeah.
to the tune of a song, aka like the saga begins.
Yeah.
But still, it's a great one.
Even still.
Even still. Oh yeah, I brought up Uncle Ben a little bit ago. I mean,
Yes.
he is the Uncle Ben. There's a lot of memes about it, but it's such a serious thing too. Rewatching it, that whole
Yeah, it
scene,
is.
the whole interaction, and I, in the moment when like Peter just like snaps at him, he's like, I know you're not my father. And he's like, stop pretending to be. And just the look on Uncle Ben's face when he says that is just like, oh, it breaks my heart every time.
Yeah. I mean, one of the best quotes probably of all movies,
Yeah.
all superhero movies for sure.
Yeah.
The most famous. I don't know if it came from this movie or was it a constant like comic thing? I don't know. Probably a comic thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
You say
I actually don't know.
fact about one of these movies, and then there's some kid on Reddit that's just like, actually in the comics.
I say don't quote me on something, and then my co-host quotes me on something in the very episode.
So I was talking with Jonathan the other day, and he was saying like, I say don't quote me on things, but you still quote me on stuff. It's true because I do, but
Yeah.
I did just quote you,
You quoted me.
quoting you. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Boom. That is a line right there.
Mm-hmm. I was looking up that actor's IMDb, and like he's done a lot of acting,
Okay.
but like nothing. It seemed like small parts here and there that he did throughout his career, and I just thought it was interesting, like to work like all your life, and then like in your later years have that like career defining role.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's going to be remembered for, is being in these movies. That
Yeah.
I mean that scene specifically. But
Never
I
seen
thought that was
Lincoln.
pretty cool. It's just you never know.
Well, same stuff with like Richard Harris.
Mm-hmm. Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Michael Gambon.
I mean, yeah.
Pretty much anybody that was old in the Harry Potter movies, but
yeah. And not that they didn't have a career outside of that, but it's just like to have that like career defining legacy type of character. It's pretty cool.
But yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. And then my favorite Uncle Ben line that I think of a lot. It's kind of sad.
You quote it a lot.
But it takes me out of the movie sometimes because it's so funny. He's literally on his deathbed, and he's just like, better. It's like, he sounds like Kronk. That's why it took me out. Better.
Oh, man.
It's a very sad scene,
such a
honestly,
sad
but
scene.
that just takes me out. I'm sorry. Moving on.
You reminded me of D3 with Hans. It's just like, he's about to die in the next scene. He just goes, "Goodbye, Charlie."
Goodbye, Charlie. Oh, man. Rest in peace, Uncle
Ben.
I almost said, rest in peace, Uncle Phil. It's not
too.
a J. Cole lyric.
The itsy-bitsy spider came up the water spout.
Sorry, I had freshly learned that nursery rhyme too, so like I knew that one for sure.
Yeah, it's like, I get this reference. The wrestling scene. I just want to say, like, my favorite part of that entire scene is the fans that are just that love Bonesaw, and they've got the prop saw, and they're just sawing off their arm, going Bonesaw.
I specifically remember kids in middle school doing that. Like Leo and Delaney had just watched that over the weekend, and they were going around the hallway just going Bonesaw.
I got you for 3 whole minutes.
3 whole minutes. It's for playtime. What are you doing up there? Getting away from you. Staying away from you.
I'm the human spider. No, they got my name wrong. I do like the announcer, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
He's in all the movies in small parts, but he plays different characters.
Directors can be weird like that. They're just like, let's make it, if no one else can recognize my directorial style, if I pick one actor that's in all of my movies,
put him in all my movies
for a cameo, then they'll know. Then that makes me a good director, right? Wes Anderson really took on to that.
Except now he's got like 40 actors in every single of his
Yeah, that's
movies.
what I mean.
It's not just the one.
What other directors are like that? We got Ron Howard with his brother.
Yeah, he always puts his brother
We've
in.
got, I guess, technically Pixar.
Well, the director of this one, Sam Raimi, he put his brother in this movie also. He's like one of the Daily Bugle employees or whatever.
Okay.
But
well, now, Jonathan, if one of us ever makes a movie,
okay,
the other person has to be in it. All of them.
No,
Okay.
I got 2 other brothers. It's fine.
Okay. So our show order is done by Bryce Bridgman, and you can find him at Groovy Bridge.
Can I talk about a cool transition?
Sure.
It was basically just when like the Green Goblin like goes and destroys those like that like military demonstration or whatever.
Yes.
And like there's this huge explosion, and then it just like fades into like graduation. Everyone's like throwing their caps up in the air. I was like, that's a cool moment.
That was so smooth, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
If we have any listeners right now, if you're sitting here listening to this right now, and you live in New York City, and you also went to high school there, is it normal to have your graduation outside? Because I feel like every single graduation in a movie that was taking place in New York has been outside at Central Park. Also, I thought the graduation was at the end of the movie. not the middle, but that's the funeral, which apparently is at the same place. Why? It looks exactly like the same spot. Even
Central Park's pretty big.
okay, I've never been there.
Central Cemetery?
Is there a cemetery in Central Park?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think it was. I think it was just a funeral more than a. It literally looks like they filmed it on the same day. I bet they did.
Maybe.
In the same
what other movies? New York movies. You got any other examples, or you just
Andrew Garfield Spider-Man?
yeah? Okay. Spider-Man he graduates outside. It's in the comics. They have to do it.
You think like New York City though would have plenty of venues to do so?
It's probably just so cold all the time. They're just like,
People graduate.
It's
in
summer.
The summer.
It's summer. Like we got to spend every second outside we can.
Okay. Yeah. The only other graduation movie I could think of is High School Musical 3.
I wonder if it might be more common. Like I feel like growing up in Florida, it was just so hot all the time. Like we did not have graduations outside.
You didn't even eat outside unless you're on the beach.
So I'd be curious if other schools, like if it was more common to like have
we went to our cousin's graduation one time and it was on
football
the football field. But
yeah.
that's just because it was a small country graduation.
In Smallville, Clark Kent, his graduation was out in the football field. It's another superhero.
Yeah. Superheroes
graduate outside. That's how they do it.
That's a t-shirt right there. Superheroes graduate outside. That's a t-shirt that would confuse everybody that you walk past. Wait, what does that mean?
One to me.
What does that mean? It's just
it's an inside quote.
Superheroes graduate outside. That's a statement that means nothing, but I can get 100%
but you agree
behind
with
it. Superheroes graduate outside.
Outside.
Well, not many people know this, but superheroes do graduate outside. What a weird thought. But I genuinely thought that it was in the same exact spot. It probably was. They probably shot on the same day. They probably switched, took off their graduation gowns, and were wearing the same clothes underneath that they would wear to a funeral. Put yourself in the human spider's shoes post-fight. When you win and you're about to collect your money, he gives you $100 instead of $3,000.
Mm-hmm. But the ad said 3,000.
False advertising, honestly. Literally false advertising. I don't blame him that much because it comes up with the best comeback.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
So he lets him go, but then him letting him go gives him the advantage to get away, but he needs a getaway car. So he takes Uncle Ben's car and kills him. Is that Toby's fault? This is
So
real,
you're throwing me
philosophy question.
Ethics questions.
Yeah. Whose fault is this? Is it the robbers? Is it Uncle Ben's? Is it Tobey Maguire's? I mean, Peter Parker. Or is it the guy that didn't give him the money?
It's Uncle Ben's fault all the way.
Or is it Bonesaw's fault for losing? That stupid idiot. Regardless, revenge isn't the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, although this guy did have a gun on him, so he would have gotten away regardless. So I don't think Toby should beat himself up too hard. He still kicked him out of a window, pretty much. He didn't kick; he tripped, but he pretty much killed him.
He was
dead.
threatening him.
He pretty much killed him dead.
Yeah. It's just a practical example of what Uncle Ben had just told him.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility, and he had an opportunity to stop him, and he had the ability to do it.
I guess I did forget that he was literally a superhero, and he just beat up Randy Macho Man Savage.
Yeah, he could,
but
have
he still
stopped
had a
him.
gun.
I mean, he's not bulletproof.
Yeah,
but he still could have tripped him and stopped him. He could have.
Yeah.
And he let him go out of pettiness, out of revenge for not getting his money. And so it's every superhero needs that moment of tragedy or whatever, that moment where their life changes and brings them, I don't know, forces them to become the hero.
Okay, let's go through other superheroes and think about this. What's the farting one from Mystery Men?
The Spleen.
The Spleen.
I don't have his old backstory. Man, we bring up Mystery Men like 3 episodes in a row.
I know. Well, I guess Doctor Strange was his wreck.
Yeah, it's not always something as like dramatic as what happens with Spider-Man, but it's Batman. He's got the death of his parents that pushes him on that path. Obviously, he doesn't like become Batman at like 6 years old, but he becomes that brooding person and starts thinking about those types of things of justice and I don't know. It's just a thing in superhero movies, just like graduating outside.
Superheroes do be graduating outside. Man, this makes me want to watch I want to watch Iron Man. That's a great origin. I want to watch an origin story superhero movie. And people, they don't make those anymore.
They haven't been making those
because
with the
we
MCU.
did them too much. I get that. It makes sense. But it's about time to bring them back. If they don't do an origin story for Fantastic Four, I'll be upset. I think that's what gets people into superhero movies. If you do too many superhero movies without an origin story, and it's just a sequel or just like, all right, you're in this world, people can get bored like I am now. I don't have any desire to see a single TV show, any Loki TV show, whatever, what is out right now, the Marvels. Actually kind of looks, I don't care. It looks kind of good.
It'll be fine, but it won't be
I
Spider-Man
feel like
1.
People can't relate to him unless they started out as a normal person. Yeah. Then it's just sci-fi. I think people can really latch on to an origin story and love those movies. What's the best Iron Man movie?
I mean, the first one's the best one.
Origin story.
Yeah. But I like the third one. People hate on the third one. I like Iron Man 3.
Okay. I like Spider-Man 3.
Okay. I do too.
But still, this one's my favorite because it's an origin story.
Yeah.
But I could go for a good origin story in a new superhero movie.
I mean, like with the early MCU, all those characters pretty much had like their own like solo standalone movie.
Yeah.
At first, you had an Iron Man, you had a Thor, you had a Captain America. I guess those are the big 3. And then they like, you would have those movies and they would build up into these Avengers movies. Yeah. And then, then they did the next one and whatnot. But these new ones, they haven't really been doing that because I guess people have gotten tired of the origin stories. And so they're just introducing new characters in other people's movies.
Yeah.
I mean, they already did. They did that with
we've been
Spider-Man.
around for a while. You should know me by now.
I mean, I don't. They did that with Spider-Man. They just introduced him, in the middle of Civil War. And then they went back and did some individual movies. But even then, everything he was doing was tied in with the other stories too. But
yeah.
Anyway.
It's whatever.
We have thus far avoided the MCU until now. We have not really talked about it on the podcast.
We really haven't. I don't think I want to, though.
I will say this. I think everyone is really burnt out on the MCU right now. And I'm trying not to say a whole lot about it, about feeling like burnt out and stuff, because I know like I just need some time away from it, and then I'm going to get back to it. And I'm going to
need some space.
Like, I know that it was great for the time that it was through Endgame or whatever.
Yeah, Endgame.
All through that, it was all good.
Infinity War, not knowing what to do with our lives. That's a moment right there.
So I know that like in time, like maybe they'll course correct and things will, kind of get back on a good track with them. But I know it'll be like, I'll feel in the mood to watch those MCU movies again.
I'm
eventually.
so burnt out right now from MCU movies that if you give me a choice to watch any MCU movie, all 17 of them, 3017.
I like that number.
If I choose that over a different superhero movie, like, I don't know, Zoom, I'm watching Zoom, starring Tim Allen and the kid who played Curtis from The Santa Claus movies.
Don't forget the kid that was in Air Bud is the villain.
Yeah. I'm watching that. The Smash Mouth soundtrack.
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching.
Prerequisite to an amazing movie.
So good.
It was not good.
That was not a good movie.
But it was a staple of our childhood, for sure.
Yeah. And when I say staple, I mean staple.
I'm trying to pick out some, like, what are like the big moments in this movie for you? I mean, I haven't even, like,
The beginning, the origin
the
story.
bug bite itself. We haven't really
bug
talked about
bite.
that. Like the animated blue and red spider,
Dope spider.
the spider bite.
I love that spider. That's my favorite spider I've ever seen.
J. Jonah Jameson, amazing casting.
Yes.
Everything about the Daily Bugle scenes are always highlights of these movies for me.
Yeah.
And seeing him in the role, and it was obvious that you'd get him to come back for
I
the
always
MCU
hated him.
versions.
He always scared me a little bit.
You always hated him, but then as you get older, you realize like how good a character it is.
Yeah. And he's actually the first person
And
to
another great
cross
actor.
over into the multiverse. Because I remember he was at the end of Homecoming. Or Far From Home.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of like, now all they're doing is leaning on the multiverse.
Yeah.
That's where you ruin things, is when you do like, what if we did this? Wait, literally they have a show called What If.
What if?
Never mind.
Which is cool. That's where that stuff should be, you know.
Yeah.
I had forgotten the theme in this movie of "Don't Tell Harry," of like how often
Don't
that line
tell
is repeated.
Yeah.
Like I had forgotten
Don't tell
about
Harry.
that. But
And
then,
don't tell Harry.
But then it reminded me, like I remember being with like my friends, like after watching this, like in school, and like quoting that, just saying like, "Oh, don't tell Harry."
Don't tell Harry. Yeah. Harry's
Iconic
left in the
moment.
dark constantly.
Making out upside down in the rain.
Never done that before.
Probably one of the top moments of cinema, I would think. The Thanksgiving scene. We kicked off the show saying Happy Thanksgiving. That's why we wanted to talk
Yeah.
about this around this time.
I don't know
It's
of
an
any other
iconic scene.
Thanksgiving movies, really.
I absolutely love Aunt May slapping Norman on the hand
Oh, yeah.
when he's trying to like dig into the food, and just the look he
Say-
gives her. It's like no one's ever told me no.
I'm gonna break into your house after this. While you're saying your prayers.
Norman, will you say grace?
And then he just like licks his finger.
And then sharpens his... Oh, that was a scary moment.
Yeah.
I thought that was his version of saying grace. I actually do remember one time. It was my turn to say the prayer before dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I took up my knife and my fork. And I pretended to do the Norman Osborn. And Mom was like, stop. Thanksgiving movies, Jonathan. List them.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is probably the most famous like Thanksgiving-ish movie, but it's not the one that we grew up watching. It's not one that I saw until I was an adult. But it's a good Thanksgiving movie for sure.
Okay.
I don't know. What's this movie that came out? Freebirds?
Yeah,
Was that a Thanksgiving movie?
Yeah,
I bet Connor Patterson has watched that.
it's pretty good.
I bet it's his second favorite movie. The first being Storks, 2016.
Yeah. And Emperor's New Groove, which he was on our show for, but Fantastic Mr. Fox is a fall vibes movie. It's not even like Thanksgiving.
Yeah. There's definitely plenty of like fall vibes types movies. I like the theme of Green Goblin is like he's trying to get to Spider-Man and he's trying to convince him to join him and everything. And he's just like, these
It's
people...
a classic villainous trope, I would say,
Mhm.
but it's perfect.
It works. And the thing is, why it's good is that it's true. Is that he's like, eventually these people are going to turn on you. Like,
Yeah.
that you're trying to help and that sort of thing. J. Jonah Jameson is already trying to like turn him against him.
Yep.
Turn the people against him. Trying to control the perception, his image. That's only going to increase like in the second one.
Yeah. And if Uncle Ben hadn't died, he was in the car waiting for him. He's gonna smack him with a good one for talking back to him.
I think that's what makes it good, though, is that there is an element of truth, but it's been twisted to it, and that's the perfect villain type move, I think.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Classic good and evil. And then like just skipping like to the end of like basically the choice of like, here, save this like car full of children or your girlfriend or the girl you've had a crush on since you were in fourth grade.
It's kind of why I did a little the philosophy thing earlier, but
Yeah.
there's also the
must
girl
choose.
or most people, the one person or the 5 people on the train tracks.
Yeah.
Literally this train tracks scenario. The trolley.
Oh, and just another, like, one of the best bits of acting of his, too, is just that scene when he's hearing the voices in his mansion.
Yeah.
And he's like, what is that? And he's got that whole scene in front of the mirror. And he's, like, playing both parts, basically, in the mirror of, like, his reflection. But then also from the back, it kind of almost seems like he's doing something different, acting with his back. I don't know. That's one of the best scenes of the movie that I've appreciated as an adult.
So good. He's so good.
But I've just always loved this like set piece here at this like action sequence at the end, basically on the bridge, and then he saves Mary Jane, but he also is trying to save this cable car full of people. And like, I can only imagine like he's like stretched out, he's like holding the cable, but also like the web. Yeah. And like there's that scene where like the goblin just like comes in and like smacks him while he's holding both.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, how does he hold on to that?
There's always some scene where he's doing that.
Yeah.
Spider-Man in general. It was like there's the cruise
he's just stretched
scene,
out, yeah.
Holding it together in Tom Holland's.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's
the train scene in the second one.
Yeah, the train scene in the second
That's
one.
a great scene.
Yeah, you're so right.
And I was going to mention this. This movie made me like New York a little bit more.
Yeah?
Like, I feel like on this podcast, we've like said, like, I have no desire to go to New York.
We have the Natural History Museum to go see.
That's true. But
I would see Broadway stuff.
It's always like, I don't know. It's always pictured as this grungy, dirty crime city.
Hustle and bustle.
A million people. And this shows it that way also. But like, at least in this, like you see, I don't know, just like this movie more than some of the other Spider-Man movies really shows like New York as a character.
As like a place to live.
Yeah, I guess.
Versus just being there.
Right. Yeah. Because you really interact with like the citizens of New York, and like there's that. Obviously, the citizens like come to his aid on the bridge, and they start like throwing stuff at the goblin. They're like, "You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us."
Yeah. I feel like the only other like form of TV shows or movies, media, that I get that sense of feeling is Kimmy Schmidt.
Kimmy Schmidt. That's a good one. That's a good show.
It is.
There's also like the montage of like after he starts, taking on the Spider-Man persona, and like it's like a montage of people like around town like reacting to Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
There's that one lady, she's like, "Oh, he's got those cute tights and that cute little," and then it cuts away. The guy in the subway singing Spider-Man, Spider.
Also, like the negative people are just like, anytime somebody gets a chance to be on the news, they'll say any story.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy, he's horrible. So yeah, speaking of New York, this movie came out in 2002.
Yes.
Filmed 2001 ish.
Yeah.
There obviously something changed about New York between then and the movie release date. The attacks on the World Trade Center on September 11th, national tragedy. And there were like posters originally printed and like sent out and everything.
Yeah.
Of a picture of him with like the New York City skyline reflecting in his like eye goggles, or I don't know, they're not goggles, but like his mask.
Yeah. The eyes in the mask, and they're reflective.
Yeah. And you could see the World Trade Center in his reflection, and they recalled those posters like instantly. Like that was scary. And this also came about as like a resurgence of. There's a really good video we can link in the description from the Super Carlin brothers.
Okay.
About this. It's like this movie came out at a perfect time to unite America after this huge attack.
Yeah.
Like, we need a hero to save us. Like,
yeah,
stuff's going down right now. And it's interesting that this is the movie that started to heal America a little bit.
Yeah.
But they took out the New York City skyline of these posters, but they also like added the end scene where he's like swinging and then he lands on top of a building on top of the flag or there's an American flag in the distance.
Yeah.
That's in every single Spider-Man movie. Like Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, I don't know about Spider-Verse, but like there's always Spider-Man with an American flag. And that's because of this movie where they were like, we need to end this on a good note. We need to unite the American people. So we're going to end this with a superhero pose in front of the American flag waving behind him.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It's cool.
It's so cool. So that's a little fun fact.
Yeah.
A little fun fact to Ruski.
I like that.
It's always interesting seeing how, obviously, like that terrorist attack was a national tragedy, and it affected all of America in a lot of different ways. But like, you wouldn't necessarily expect it to affect some movies. But there's a lot of movies that have like changed their, like rewritten some scenes or like changed their branding and stuff.
Yeah.
Because of those attacks. I know they did some re-sketches in Lilo and Stitch we talked about.
Yeah. And with Spider-Man, I think that there was actually even some trailers that had some shots that they removed some shots.
I mean, regardless, they still like there was explosions in New York City.
Yeah.
That's a little interesting.
The ending of the movie. Well, there's two ending parts I want to talk about, I guess. One is like when they take the fight, Spidey and Goblin take the fight over to that like abandoned haunted house looking place. I don't know. And they're just fighting in there, and Goblin's just beating them up and everything. But eventually, it's just like I just always thought it was like one of the coolest deaths.
Yeah.
For Green Goblin was just like when he's like he's pulling up the glider to like attack him from behind, and Peter he gets the Spidey sense and just the backflip, and it just like rams him and hits him right in the middle.
You played yourself, Goblin.
Got him. One of the coolest deaths. I liked it.
Oh.
Okay, and then the last part is obviously there's the funeral, and basically Peter's been like pining after MJ the whole movie, and then he just at the end he puts her in the friend zone. It's just like, you thought I was gonna go for this, didn't you?
He has his high standards. He respects himself now.
It just goes to show he's got the. It's part of the relatability. Why he's relatable as a character is because it's not just that he has these superpowers and he can do all these great things. What makes him relatable is that he's Peter Parker, and he's got this humanity, and he's going through real struggles, and he's got he's got this life, his personal life that he would like to, but he's got to put this calling ahead of.
Which this will definitely be more defined in the next movie.
Yeah. And that's why, just a side tangent, I think that they can make an interesting Superman movie. I love the character of Superman.
Oh, yeah.
I think they can do it. They just need to lean more on his human side, personal side, instead of focusing on like side. Instead of focusing so much on just like him as Superman.
His powers.
The last few like Superman movies have barely spent any time developing like the Clark Kent side of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like Superman could take a page out of
This is the
Spider-Man's
guy who
book.
watched 10 seasons of Smallville.
Smallville was Peter Parker Spider-Man, basically. He was this like teenager trying to come to terms with his powers and, figure out life. I don't know. I do feel like that. That's why I like that side, because it focuses more on like his desire to live a normal life compared to like the superhero life. So
obviously, if he didn't want to live a normal life, he wouldn't work at the newspaper,
The Daily Planet. I mean, the Daily Bugle.
What's the Daily Tribune?
Every superhero works for a newspaper, and they graduate outside.
Every New York City.
In New York.
That's all the jobs they've got there. They either work in a deli or you work at the newspaper. You gotta sell papes.
Or they're rich and don't have any powers.
Yes.
Well, I guess we should start wrapping it up here, Jeremy.
Yeah, I believe so.
Spider-Man is an amazing movie. One of my favorites of all time. Jeremy, do you have a Letterboxd score for this movie?
I'm kind of scared. 5 stars.
5 stars?
No, 4.5.
I gave it 5 stars too.
Okay. I'm gonna give this, going with my gut, I'm gonna give this movie a 5-star review.
5 stars.
I think it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially perfect. You can't dog it on its CGI.
Mm-hmm.
You can't dog it on its bad writing, because it's great writing.
I will say well, I'll let you finish.
It's a superhero movie and it's cheesy, but it is so good. I'm not gonna give the other two any other Spider-Man this rating. I wouldn't say. This is my favorite Spider-Man movie. So, sorry.
You just reminded me of, like the scary movie, like parody movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have all kinds of different ones. There's one called Superhero Movie.
Yeah.
And I just remembered
It's got
that.
Drake Bell playing the
Drake
human
Bell.
dragonfly.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I actually liked that one back in the day. And that one was basically just taking the Spider-Man, like the Spider-Man stories, the first one, was basically like the skeleton structure of what that movie was parodying. That was funny. Anyway.
So dumb.
CGI-wise, the worst scene that I actually noticed, one thing about seeing these movies now is like we're seeing them in HD versus like standard definition.
Yeah.
So now sometimes I notice CGI where I didn't even know, oh, that was just a CGI person there. That wasn't even a real person.
Yeah.
There's a couple moments like that in this movie. One is like when he like first puts on, he's like chasing after the guy that like killed Uncle Ben the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It like cuts to him running down an alley and like it transitions into just a fully CGI character.
Yeah.
And then jumping on the walls. I'm like, oh, that's CGI. Yeah, that's not a real person.
I'll do you one better. This isn't CGI, but there's the scene where the Green Goblin is he's attacking the parade, the festival, whatever it's called.
The pumpkin bombs turning people into skeletons.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's interesting. I'm not even talking about CGI, but the part where Spider-Man saves Mary Jane, and they're swinging, and it's a close-up of them swinging. It's Mary Jane holding on to a mannequin.
A mannequin. I've seen that.
And you can't unsee it if you've seen it, but it's like he's just like still.
Yeah.
And she's hugging this mannequin, and the green screen is flowing by, and it is beautiful cinema. That does not knock it down any point. I love that part.
I've seen that in the past. Did not remember that or notice that when we rewatched it at all. So now I need to go back and watch it. Okay. My Letterboxd score, I gave it 5 out of 5 as well.
Okay.
If I'm sure you could knock it for certain things here and there. Maybe it's not a perfect movie, but for me, it's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
It's a 5 out of 5 for me. And I feel like I could knock it down to like a 4.5 or something, but for what reason? Like, I really don't have any grounds. That's only to like, if I was trying to make a statement about something. So I'm giving it 5. Maybe even just for the memes alone. I think its memeability says something about the timelessness of it. I said it before. I think this is like the blueprint anybody that for like a superhero origin movie, anybody that's making an origin movie needs to watch this.
Yeah.
And see what it does well. Not try and look at it and say, let's try and do something different or change the formula. I feel like this works.
Yes.
And we've talked about the impact of these movies on us and also the pop culture. Like, these were just as big as like Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. For me, like almost as big as those movies. Like because they weren't coming out every year, but it was like every 3 years.
Would you say Pirates of the Caribbean level?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I personally liked the Spider-Man movies more than Pirates, but Pirates was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, these were major
motion pictures.
Major ocean pictures. Like Surf's Up. But these were event movies, and it was a great time to be a movie fan in 2002.
Yeah, sure was. All right, well, another day, another staple. I guess the only thing left is to ask, what's your favorite inside quote from this movie? Let us know at Instagram at InsideQuotesCast.
And if you haven't followed us, go ahead and do that, and just let us know if there are any movies you want us to cover on the show.
Okay, our show art was done by Bryce Bridgman, and you can find him on Instagram at GroovyBridge.
And our music was done by Alex Bird.
And we would love it if you left us a 5-star review. If you do, we promise to read it right here on the show.
But more importantly, 5 stars, and we'll send you a can of cranberry sauce just in time for Thanksgiving.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about our childhood staples just as much as we have. And if you did, make sure you hit follow or subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so that you don't miss out on a future episode.
Also, if you like the show, share it with a friend.
Well, until next time, remember, with great responsibility comes a lot of power. Also, I'm going.
I'll be here when you get back.
Not coming back, Chief.
See ya, chump.